If you're anything like me and you love revenge stories, then you would know that revenge protagonists often fall into two of one of these categories. Either the protagonist is very loud, they return with a bang, they claim their identity, they return as themselves, except this time they either have an elevated social status or some kind of newfound power that helps them get back at the enemies who wronged them. Or we have a protagonist who, after being wrong, retreats into shadows and works behind the scene to dismantle the people who wronged them. They use disposable aliases or fake identities and often reveal their real identity towards the end in a very dramatic fashion. But in the Chinese drama, The Double, our protagonist Xue Fangfei actually falls into a category somewhere in between. She does not come out loudly as the first kind, but she also doesn't really hide in the shadows. She works somewhere in between. She comes out as Xue Fangfei. Physically, her face, her body, everything, that's Xue Fangfei. So physically, in her physical presence, she comes out as Xue Fangfei. But the name, the identity, the status that she claims, the status she hides under, is the status of somebody else, namely Jiang Li, a woman who also happens to be wronged in a somewhat similar fashion. Now, if you have not seen The Double or have seen it but kind of need a bit of recap over the plot, let me run you through it briefly before we move ahead. The Double follows the story of Xue Fangfei, who gets betrayed by her husband, accused of infidelity, and buried alive. However, she survives, gets out of that grave that she was buried in, and walks and wanders into the forest nearby. She tries to sort of kill herself because she happens to have lost everything. Her husband tells her her father has been arrested, her brother is dead, and she feels like she has lost everything and she's about to, sort of get rid of herself, commit suicide, and end her life. But she happens to be saved by a girl named Jiang Li, who happens to be living in a nearby nunnery, also repenting for a crime that she did not commit. Jiang Li was once accused of causing the death of her stepmother's unborn child. She, of course, she was actually a kid when that happens, and she refuses to, apologize, saying she did nothing wrong, that she never did it. She's being accused of something she did not do. So she's sent to this nunnery to kind of repent, and she runs into Xue Fangfei, helps her, and gives her new motivation, revives her, makes her understand that she tells her that living is the best revenge. However, Jiang Li gets caught going in and out of the nunnery and gets beaten up severely and is wounded. Xue Fangfei enters the nunnery, finds Jiang Li. Jiang Li tells her everything about her life, and eventually Jiang Li dies. And Xue Fangfei kind of promises her to, get back at the people who wronged her and give her back the right that was snatched from her. So Xue Fangfei takes up Jiang Li's identity and returns to the capital as Jiang Li. And because the Jiang family hasn't seen Jiang Li in like 10 plus years, or over a decade, they do not really know what she looks like as a grown-up adult. So Xue Fangfei is able to pass off as Jiang Li without any problem. And that's how the story begins. Like, Xue Fangfei enters the Jiang household, re-enters the capital, re-enters normal life as Jiang Li, and thus begins her story of revenge. Double revenge, true to the title, revenge for Jiang Li and revenge for herself. Now, Xue Fangfei doesn't just wear Jiang Li's title as armor, she also retains a part of her as Xue Fangfei, part of her intellect, part of her burning rage as a woman betrayed by her husband, of course, and a part of her own personality. In this gray zone, the boundary between the vessel and the identity sort of begin to blur. Where does Jiang Li end, and where does Xue Fangfei actually re-emerge? In the narrative, there's a diagnostic tool that we can use to sort of measure this psychological shift, this Xue Fangfei stepping into Jiang Li's identity and then shedding that identity to return back to her original identity. And to measure that, we have to look at the color palette of her dress from start to finish, and today we're going to do exactly that. We're going to analyze her outfit from start to finish to see where does she take up Jiang Li's identity, take up a dead woman's sort of identity, dead woman's ghost, and where does she shed that to re-emerge into normal life as Xue Fangfei. We start our visual trajectory or the story by seeing Xue Fangfei in a dress that is pure and adorned white. There is, let me point out, a ribbon around her upper, her chest area that is green in color. But that aside, her entire her outfit, rest of the outfit from top to bottom, is white. She's betrayed, she's framed, and she's buried alive in that white robe. And when she crawls out of that mud, of that grave, and steps into the Zhenyu Hall, the Zhenyu Nunnery, she continues to wear white, even until she has officially crossed the threshold of the capital, entered the Jiang household, reinstated into the household as the daughter of the second lady Jiang. Her wardrobe remains stripped of any sort of color. And if you know anything about traditional Chinese symbolism or anything about traditional Chinese culture, white is it carries profound dual layered meaning. First and foremost, obviously, it is the color of mourning, funerals, and physical death. People wear white when attending funerals. It's also a common thing in Hindu culture. And in the opening arc episodes from 1 to 3, we see two literal deaths. The color white, the outfit white, represents two kinds of deaths. The metaphorical death of course, Xue Fangfei, who gets buried, and to the capital, Xue Fangfei is dead. To her husband, Xue Fangfei is dead. To everyone who knew her, she's dead. And of course, the physical death of the actual Jiang Li, who succumbed to starvation and beatings at the nunnery. However, white also stands for purity, honesty, and absolute clarity. And when you see Jiang Li, the original Jiang Li, wearing a white outfit, it hints at her innocence. The outfit is telling us that she's innocent, that her innocence, her innocence was not believed by anybody, and she was discarded by her stepmother. But when Xue Fangfei wears this white robe after being resurrected from the grave, getting out of the grave, being helped out, when she wears white, it doesn't only stand for her innocence, it also stands for her uncompromised clarity. After Jiang Li, after talking to Jiang Li, after Jiang Li gives her motivation, Xue Fangfei's mindset changes. It's the white that she wears now signifies a mind that's completely purged of illusion, stripped of her past naivety as the wife of Shen Yurong, as the magistrate's daughter, and a mind that's now laser focused on single objective: retribution. This symbolism is also planted sort of right into the opening sequence. As I said, she is sort of betrayed and buried in white robes, and she's accused of infidelity while she is wearing white. The narrative uses this color to kind of show us the contrast. She's wearing white, and that white is symbolizing her innocence to the audience, while the world around her paints her as corrupt, as somebody who betrayed her husband. In these foundational episodes, in these first few episodes, the white costume is not just a dress that she's wearing, it is a dual shroud for two murdered women and a canvas of absolute tactical focus. Then, upon entering the Jiang household, Xue Fangfei as Jiang Li steps wearing the nunnery's white clothes and continues to do so until she reaches the chamber where she has to live. And when color sort of does penetrate her sort of outfit, it does so with extreme structural restraint. It's not like she's wearing white one instance and suddenly the second instance she is dressed in bold, vibrant colors. White stays there and color enters very carefully into her sort of outfit. Her first outfit as Jiang Li in the Jiang household is predominantly white from top to bottom. However, it features two distinct localized accents of color. There's a vibrant green sash that's draped around her over her arms and a warm orange sash that's bound tightly around her waist. Both of these colors, they carry heavy symbolic weight, particularly concerning the moment Xue Fangfei is going through, the things that Xue Fangfei is going through. Green represents vitality, resilience, and organic growth, the kind of sapling pushing through frozen earth kind of growth. And then you have orange that symbolizes structural transformation, ambition, and imminent success. The placement of this costume is very interesting because just before we see Xue Fangfei's Jiang Li wearing this costume, we see Jiang Li's stepmother, Lady Ji, talking to her maid, and she says that if this girl who has come is actually the true Jiang Li, is the real Jiang Li, then she will know her place. She will know who the real mistress of the Jiang household is. And if this person is a fake, if this person is an imposter, then her identity will be revealed. Then we cut to the scene of Lady Ji sending her maid with servants into Jiang Li's chamber. In that moment, we see Xue Fangfei wearing this white dress with the orange, waist sash and a green sash over her arms. On a lighter note, I want to point this out that this color scheme, the first time I saw it, made me chuckle because it made her look like she was about to perform at a Republic Day or an Independence Day event in India, in my country. And because of the tricolor palette, our flag has these three colors, so that's what it kind of reminded me, and that's what it kind of looked like. But yeah, that aside, let's get back to the point. The most critical color, however, is not something that she wears on her body. It's something that's tied around her hair. A red ribbon. In Chinese culture and across many global traditions, particularly in Southeast Asia, if you are from any of these countries in these areas, even East Asia, you would know red carries massive sacred weight. It is the color of matrimonial bonds, prosperity, joy, and vitality. But for Xue Fangfei, who was brutally betrayed, or after her wearing red after being betrayed and sort of buried by her husband, it's not a celebration. It's kind of an act of psychological reclamation. To understand this weight, the weight of this red ribbon that she ties onto her hair, we need to understand what it means. She's weaponizing a memory because she's reclaiming the symbol of the sacred vow that sort of was turned into her death warrant. She takes the color of her former devotion and transforms it into the banner of her retribution. She's kind of holding on to this color that once represented her very happy married life in the hopes that in her process of trying to get revenge, in the process of her trying to understand why what happened to her, she's holding on to this red in the hopes to get back to that kind of life. And the narrative ensures that the detail is not lost on her enemy, because guess who's one of the very first people who spots her wearing that red ribbon in the Jiang household? Shen Yurong, her husband. There is even a deeper sort of architectural thread here that's connecting her episodes 3 and 4 attire to what she wore before her downfall. there are flashbacks that we get to see, and we see in her flashback a combination of green and red in her outfit, in her even in her past life. And this color pairing does just not a coincidence. By reintroducing the exact color harmony that defined the original identity of Xue Fangfei, the visual storytelling signals at this subtle shift that even while she is navigating the capital under the name and status of Jiang Li, her underlying identity, it's not buried, it's still there. The disguise might be Jiang Li, but the color palette somewhat belongs to Xue Fangfei. And she has also kind of already begun to sort of begun the process of reclaiming her identity, her true self, right in front of her enemies. And by episode 5, we see a noticeable shift in her costumes, that now slowly there are other colors that are entering her wardrobe, while the white base continues to remain, and it does actually for much of the entire series. The wardrobe in this episode now introduces prominent panels of turquoise green, muted gray, and this very ultra diluted ice blue that reads as white on camera. Like, you need to rewatch her in this outfit over and over to get that shade, to see that shade. It looks white at first glance. She maintains a visual connection to green, of course, but of course, on the other hand, she also expands her color palette. Yet, despite this addition of color, there's the interesting thing is that the entire palette is very desaturated, in the sense that the colors that she's wearing, even if they are deep and dark, they aren't very bold and on your face like bright yellow, bright red, bright green kind of colors. They're very soft to the eye when you look at them. And this saturation kind of serves a very crucial narrative purpose. When Xue Fangfei walks into the ceremonial gathering for the coming of age ceremony of Jiang Li's younger half-sister, she isn't relying on this loud, vibrantly saturated dress to sort of force the room's attention. The desaturated muted tunes keep her visually grounded. They act as very quiet, understated from they act as in the they act in the background. They are the background, so the focus of the audience and the characters in the room is entirely on her face, on her poise, on her presence, and on what she ends up doing. The most striking, structurally significant addition of this costume, however, has to be the color black. The sash draped around her arm is of the color black. In traditional Chinese 5 elements theory, wuxing, that it's called wuxing, black represents the element of water, shui, a force that appears gentle on the surface but is actually terrifying underneath. Has a terrifying power to engulf, destroy landscapes, drown whole landscapes, and cut through rocks. And of course, beyond its elemental connection, it also symbolizes deep strategic intellect, stability, or hidden power and authority. And the moment Xue Fangfei wears this black sash, she executes a masterclass in political maneuvering. Now, during this coming of age ceremony, one of the guests present happens to be Jiang Li's mother's close friend, and she kind of asks, puts the conversation in the direction of Jiang Li's coming of age ceremony. She points out that because Jiang Li was in, she asks Jiang Li that, did you have your coming of age ceremony? And Xue Fangfei as Jiang Li doubles down kind of on it and says, no, I didn't, because I was in the nunnery, and in the nunnery there was no coming of age ceremony. Now, because of the guest presence, because of the whole social decorative thing, Lady Ji, Jiang Li's stepmother, is forced to do Jiang Li's official coming of age ceremony rites right in front of her own daughter, right in front of everyone. And Xue Fangfei, through this, reclaims the lost right of Jiang Li. This is her first step at, bringing Jiang Li back into the household, integrating her back into the family that she was sort of thrown out of. And to compound the stakes, to make it even more interesting, one of the guests uh, attending the event happened to be the Shen family, Shen Yurong's family, the very family who betrayed Xu Fangfei, and the color drains from their face when they look at this woman who claims to be Jiang Li but looks exactly like Xu Fangfei. Even Shen Yurong, like, completely, gets frozen. He has to eventually, make his mother and sister understand, like, no, I buried her alive, there is no way it's her. Everybody is calling her Jiang Li, she has to be Jiang Li, even though he and even his mother and sister know that this is Xu Fangfei, and the fact that she is wearing black, it's like a power move. However, black and red in her outfit aren't just a reflection of her sort of personality, her internal agency, or her strengths and weaknesses, whatever. They also kind of mirror the attire of another very important character, the male lead, Duxu or Xiao Heng. In this exact ceremonial sort of scene, Xiao Heng is actually dressed in a very striking red outer gown, his usual color, paired with a black undergarment. This is not an isolated coincidence. As the series progresses, Xu Fangfei's wardrobe actually maintains an ongoing visual dialogue of sorts with Xiao Heng's costumes, a subtle chromatic link that kind of tracks their evolving strategic alliance. Hold on to that connection when we get to Xiao Heng's wardrobe towards the end. Okay, from episode 5 onwards till episode 12, no other color is introduced. Her palette switches between the same 3 colors: green, blue, red. Of course, we can see green and blue, changing again and again, but red, of course, remains constant as the ribbon that's, tying her hair. And in fact, green and blue actually kind of remain permanent throughout the series till the finale. Either they are in this very saturated shade, in the lower half of her garment, or they are in a very ultra diluted shade that would read white as a distance as her upper gown. And of course, the white is the most permanent, just like red. White is the most permanent in her outfit, kind of preserving the memory of these 2 deaths, the death, not exactly her own physical death, but like the death of her innocence, the death of the Xu Fangfei that she used to be, and of course the death of Jiang Li. It is not until sort of after episode 12, after Jiang Li actually goes to see the Ye family, that's Jiang Li's maternal side of the family, that we actually see a sort of introduction of a new color, a soft pastel pink purplish color in her wardrobe. And although all this pale pink, this very light pink, cannot really have a meaning of on its own, because it's not like a very deep rose pink of a color. It's very light pink, so it doesn't have a very very deep meaning on its own. However, it's the pairing with a very green, light green, not very light, like light green color sash around her waist. It's the pairing with this that makes this very interesting, because it introduces a botanical motif, a pink petal flower resting atop a green stem. And this floral pairing, I think, directly mirrors her narrative arc during the CA household Huaixiang campaign. Draped in this pink and green outfit, which remains the most prominent outfit she wears during this arc. Xue Fangfei is actively blossoming into her dual identity. She's no longer just executing sort of cold retribution, she's expanding. As Jiang Li, she heals the fractured relationship with the Ye family and also helps the Ye family through this crisis and through this financial crisis that they are going through. And as Xue Fangfei, she investigates the political conspiracy in Huaixiang, the conspiracy that ruined the lives of the people there, that ruined the lives of her father and her brother. A point to be noted is that in this arc, Xue Fangfei dresses up in male clothing occasionally to go here and there as a male, and I will not focus on those outfits because they aren't exactly expressions of her internal identity. They are more so like disposable disguises that whatever she gets her hands on. So we will focus only on her primary attire. However, I do want to point out one outfit that one instance, not the outfit but the instance. She is dressed up with this white male outfit, and she goes to a place where she engages in a drinking game for some reason, and she ends up getting drunk. Afterwards, it's Duke Su who kind of brings her out from there, and it's raining, and Duke Su puts on his very deep red cloak over her, which I think is a very interesting thing because it subtly tells the audience that it is Duke Su, it's Xiao Heng, who eventually brings back that red color back into Xue Fangfei's life. Xue Fangfei's costume remains relatively very muted in color, like she never wears very bold colors, and while we can analyze it in very various ways, there is actually an in-universe reason for that. In a moment where she's talking to Jiang Li's father as Jiang Li, she tells the father that you know that I have a preference for light-colored dresses. I, as in Jiang Li, has a preference for light-colored dresses, and therefore her wearing these kinds of dresses is an act of fidelity to the original Jiang Li, to Jiang Li's memory. And in this manner, we actually see a contrast between Jiang Li and the actual Xue Fangfei, because we do get flashbacks of Xue Fangfei's life, and in those flashbacks, we see something in her attire that we do not see in her attire when she is as Jiang Li. As Xue Fangfei, even if she had white robes, her costume often always featured bold, vibrant, and highly saturated colors. Every time you would see her flashback, you will see colors that are saturated red, green, and even orange in certain instances. So this sort of parallel of Jiang Li's muted dress pastel and Xue Fangfei's bold is something that you need to hold on to, because this is what will tell us when that subtle shift between Jiang Li and Xue Fangfei actually ends up happening. Then comes episode 22, and this is the moment where we see the most striking, the most meaningful outfit Xue Fangfei ever wears. She wears this stark black and white robe paired with a rich blue coat and a sash and a ribbon of the same color as the coat. And we have set up the meaning of blue, like blue is a constant in her outfit, so we'll not get into that. So let's put that aside and focus on the main outfit. That is the black and white outfit that she's wearing. And we see a dramatic shift here, because black is, like unlike before where black featured as this side color, this color that was on her sash at most and nothing beyond that, we now see black as a very dominant color in her outfit. Her entire lower half of the dress is that deep dominant black. And from this point forward, black becomes a permanent high contrast pillar in her wardrobe, occasionally featuring as a dominant color on her upper robe. The timing of this visual transformation is also precise because it is in episode 22 that she returns from Huaixiang with the people of Huaixiang and her father to demand justice for those people and her father. And she walks up to the Dengwan Drum to demand justice, and while she's beating the drum, she says this: "May the clear wind carry the drum's sound. May the heavens judge between good and evil." And here's the most critical detail of this entire episode 40 series run. This happens to be one of the very first episodes, one of the very single episodes where the red hair ribbon that she used to wear all the time is not on her hair. It vanishes. It's not there. Red is completely erased from her costume. Why? Because at this precise moment, she's neither Jiang Li nor is she clinging to the memory of her past marriage. She is stripped away the disguise. She has become an unyielding instrument of divine justice. The element of water, the unrelenting black that she has taken over completely. It is after episode 22 onwards that the visual momentum permanently shifts. As her revenge campaigns for both Jiang Li and her own family converge, the muted, washed out pastels that she used to wear, they very subtly, very slowly begin to dissolve. The primary triad of color, the red, green, and blue, of course, return. They continue, but their hue, their shade becomes a little more saturated, echoing the very bold, vibrant palette she wore as the magistrate Shu's daughter before her downfall happens. And once she achieves justice for Jiang Li by dismantling Lady Ji, by revealing her crimes, a new color enters her wardrobe: vibrant yellow. Now I want to make this one thing clear, that yellow as a shade did feature in her outfit way back in Huaixiang, the Huaixiang arc. It did feature, however, the shade was very light. It was more like lemon yellow, and it was not the kind of yellow that you would take any meaning out of. It was the shade of it. The shade of it that now features, that now has importance, is more visible, and it's very dominant. In classic imperial symbolism, yellow, this kind of yellow, would represent royal authority, absolute power, and divine legitimacy. In this outfit, Xue Fangfei pairs this shade of yellow waistband with a very deep, dark forest green sort of skirt, completing this new botanical motif: a yellow flower blooming atop a dark green stem. And yellow flower, a yellow blossom, symbolizes resilience, good fortune, and rebirth. This setup, this structure of her outfit visually marks the threshold where she transitions from defending Jiang Li's legacy to executing her own personal retribution. It is no coincidence that she is wearing this exact outfit when she shoots an arrow at Shen Yurong and saves Duke Su. The victim has finally transformed into the protector. Eventually, as the dust settles and her enemies are destroyed, the narrative brings her visual arc to, I think, a very flawless full circle completion. The final sequence of the drama, the very final sequence, after she has married Xiao Heng and he has gone to war and is returning, Xue Fangfei steps into the frame wearing a magnificently beautiful red gown adorned with a clean white sash. This final garment, I think, synthesizes every stage of her journey. The white sash honors the memory of Jiang Li and honors the memory of the Xue Fangfei that she used to be, the Xue Fangfei that eventually died, the Xue Fangfei whose innocence was taken from her. And the vibrant red gown represents total reclamation. She takes the color that once marked her betrayal and her buried grave and transforms it into the banner of her new life, her true new love, and her absolute victory. Although we have now analyzed Xu Fangfei's costume from start to end, we also, I think, need to compare it to the costume of other characters. Only two prominent characters to be specific, because her costume did not exist in a vacuum. Her costume often contrasted with two prominent figures in the story, Xiao Heng and Princess Wanning. With Xiao Heng, there is a beautiful contrast to her outfits, whereas her outfit, her wardrobe often had these desaturated, muted, light-hued pastels. Xiao Heng's costume often featured dark colors. It was a masterclass in dark authority. His entire outfit had like these dark black color, dark red, or dark blue. These kinds of colors that would, that had gravity to them. And when they stood together in a scene where they stood side by side in a scene, their contrasting tones, I think, created a striking visual harmony. The light vessel paired with the dark strategist. There's a rare exception, however, when Xiao Heng is not wearing a very dark colored outfit, and in fact, Xu Fangfei points it out. She literally says, "Oh, what happened? You're not wearing your usual outfit. You're not wearing your usual color today." And Xiao Heng teases back, "Do you like it?" And it is one of the very few instances where their outfits actually match. Xu Fangfei is actually wearing a thong, her maid's outfit in that moment, and it's like a very light blue outfit with mostly blue color to it. And the outfit that Xiao Heng is wearing also is roughly in the same shade with one dark blue patch. So they kind of mirror each other. They kind of have the same outfit. And the most interesting contrast of all comes from the comparison of the very first scene where Xu Fangfei is wearing the red gown and the last scene where she wears the red gown again. If you compare these two scenes, you see and notice something interesting. In the first scene, she is with Shen Yurong, but he is wearing a white outfit while she is wearing red. But when you compare it to the last scene where she is wearing a red outfit, Xiao Heng is also wearing a red outfit, making it kind of interesting to see how he sort of complimented her, and never stood opposite her. He stood by her side by wearing the exact color she's wearing. It shows that he always stood by her side, not sort of opposite her as Shen Yurong eventually ended up doing. And then we have Princess Wanning, and just as I said, Xu Fangfei's outfit, light colored, but Princess Wanning's outfit often featured these hyper-saturated crimsons or deep emeralds and imperial golds. And of course, this is the kind of outfit you would expect of a royal princess. She was a princess, so it kind of depicts her royal lineage, but I think it also depicts her unhinged tyrannical greed for control. The most brilliant costume detail, however, occurs at Wanning's demise. When Princess Wanning dies, she is wearing a black upper robe or a stark white dress. This is a very direct, almost chilling mirror to what Xu Fangfei wore in episode 22. Of course, it's not the exact outfit, it's not like the same structure, but the color coding is similar. And this visual symmetry brings their ideological sort of war to a poetic, terrifying close. Costume design in the double, I think, while analyzing, I noticed had more meaning than just being pretty dresses. Like, on the surface, when you look at it, you might probably ignore it, but when you look at it on a very deeper level, as I did, you start to see this silent visual score that's tracking the shedding of the disguise, the reclamation of a power, and the ultimate triumph of identity over erasure. If you enjoyed this sort of deep dive, consider subscribing to my channel, because that's what I'm going to do on my channel. Analyze things, over analyze things. And of course, I'm all on Courtyard Theorist here. I also talk about other things such as contemporary publishing trends, writing trends, reading trends, trends in movies, cinema. I also look at C-dramas, as I did today, analyze certain motives, themes in C-dramas. And of course, I also want to analyze K-pop music videos. So if any of this interests you, please consider subscribing my channel and checking out the other videos on my channel. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep theorizing.